My father was an engineer, and I've often blessed that fact because I was in an engineering atmosphere from my infancy.
What was the process that took you into civil engineering?
Well, when I decided that this was for me, my father swallowed the bullet and backed me to the full and got me a job with the Hendon Borough Council. I was paid £50 a year, sort of.
What sort of work were you doing?
Oh, private streets, sewers, dog's body work.
Right.
Indeed, it meant that I had spent 7 years working with grown men. And when I later in the army I met the University Brigade, I found them curiously juvenile. 1940 I was called up, yeah. And I found it an interesting experience because in those 7 years of local government, many a job had started, well, every job started with digging a bloody great hole in the ground. It wasn't until I joined the army that I'd actually handled a pick and shovel. At Bridgewater we had some stores, planks, cable, and so I devoted quite a lot of time with my section to improvised bridging. No use to anybody, but it was absolutely first-class training.
When did the real construction work start?
I spent a month or so in the depot at Chatham, and then I heard about port construction, and I realised that this was the thing I wanted. So I managed to get myself into the port construction. I was sent on a diving course at Chatham. I then came back to the unit, and about 3 weeks after I was summoned by the OC and said, "Oh, Harris, course going on underwater bomb disposal. You're the diving officer, you are going." Oh. And that was no small part of my job from then on. Brigadier Bruce White, who was without a shadow of doubt the driving force behind it all. Without him, the war might have been very, very different indeed. I arrived at the advance party at Port-en-Bessin, from where we could see the steady construction of Mulberry. Well, they called me in as OC divers, and so I had a dozen or more French fishing vessels with skipper and mate,
yeah,
and diving crew on each.
How long did you spend at Mulberry?
I suppose I spent 6 weeks there. Mulberry was the major port for supplying the advance. I seem to have specialised in advance party operations because I led the advance party to the Rhine.
And your role was to do what?
Prepare the site for the company to come up and build the bridge over the Rhine at Xanten.
Right.
Then Colonel Cowan was appointed to set up a team to open up the Dortmund-Ems Canal. There was a 5-mile gap at Ladbergen,
right, I can imagine.
Hole in the embankment, and the whole bloody canal drained.
Yeah, no.
And we could find barges lying in fields 5 miles away down the valley.
That's quite something.
At one time, I think we had 200,000 prisoners of war working on that job.
Fantastic.
To get it back in operation again.